Okay, so the biggest boxing match in boxing history takes place tomorrow, featuring the biggest star in boxing, Jake Paul, versus a pretty fucking talented, super like top contender heavyweight in Anthony Joshua. And I'm going to be predicting this fight and going over some of the antics that have been going on in the build up to this fight as an MMA fan and someone who doesn't know anything about boxing at all, but do enjoy watching people get knocked out in boxing. It just so happens that boxing has turned into not even a combat sport anymore, and it's super fucking boring and lame. But something tells me in this fight, we are in for a knockout, a completely devastating, destructive knockout from Anthony Joshua to Jake Paul. And this fight, to me, is a win win. It's a win win situation. As a non boxing fan, I think if Jake Paul wins and makes boxing look like complete shit and that it's not a real sport at all and doesn't matter in any way, if Jake Paul on 3 years of experience comes in and beats one of the best heavyweights on earth, it will make boxing look like a complete sham disaster. And as an MMA fan who thinks boxing is boring as fuck, I'm all for that. Or the alternative, we see Anthony Joshua completely obliterate Jake Paul and make him brain dead. And then that's pretty interesting too. Seeing Jake Paul just get flatlined out cold like he's been doing to all these old farts for the past 3 or 4 years. Either way this fight goes, it's going to be fucking awesome to me. So this is a win-win fight. I'm very excited for it, to be honest. Jake Paul is really the only boxer I'm excited to watch anymore, and that sounds stupid. But if it's not, I guess I should say the heavyweight division of boxing is the only division that's at all interesting. And now that Jake Paul's inserting himself with the big dogs of boxing, it's making for an intriguing build up, to say the least, because Jake Paul is a retard and is going on a bunch of different antics. But we take a look at their record and their age and their knockouts and their reach, and all signs 100% point to Anthony Joshua. Besides age, Jake Paul could have a chance to have a younger, lighter man's ability in the octagon. He can maybe catch Anthony Joshua on the chin and knock him out. Because Anthony Joshua got chinned in his last fight against Dubois, which I know Dubois is an actual fucking heavyweight boxer and he's actually good at fighting. But it does make it a little bit interesting if Jake Paul could land one shot and knock him out, which at this point, I am rooting for. I'm rooting for Jake Paul to knock out Anthony Joshua. Do I think it's going to happen? Fucking no, not in a million years. But if it does happen in a million years, I will be so happy because I don't care for boxing and the integrity of boxing at all. So, first thing I want to highlight is the weight difference. We have a 216 Jake Paul who's looking flabby. He's looking fat. He's looking like he put on more than muscle to reach this weight. And we have Anthony Joshua who's looking lean at 243. Not a great start for Jake Paul. Another thing I want to highlight is that Jake Paul has been doing these weird, like, gimmicky antics throughout the build up. Like he usually does. He usually acts gay or like fruity in the build up as like a joke. But he's taking it to a different extreme this time. And it's not super tasteful.
216.6, 243.4, 243.4. Brother, when the ring bells, I'm coming in there and I'm coming on his ass. You know who I are? I are him. Let's go.
So he's obviously been taking his antics to a different level. He's a retard. And this is his way of kind of, in my opinion, taking the weight off his shoulders a bit from the buildup of this fight and how nervous he is to go against one of from these loser old ass MMA fighters who I love, damn it, but they're just old. I should say this. They're not loser MMA fighters. They're either old MMA fighters or loser boxers that don't matter. He's winning against those either old farts or loser boxers. To go from that to one of the best heavyweights in boxing right now is a huge jump. And I think he's nervous as fuck. And he's putting all of the cards on the line. And I think he's terrified. And he's coping by doing these weird antics and saying all this shit, this fruity ass shit. He had that all rehearsed, obviously, but I don't hate it. I think it's kind of entertaining to a degree. It's definitely cringe, but it either makes or breaks this fight. It adds a lot of stakes, which I do like. Because if we see after this Jake Paul is completely knocked out cold, dead on the canvas, that would be really funny to pair with all the dumb shit he's been doing. But if a clown like this, a complete clown freak like this, knocks out Anthony Joshua, it would bring tears to my eyes how happy I would be. We also have the weigh-in, the second weigh-in. We'll go over the second weigh-in first because I just want to highlight the size discrepancy once again, not just in weight, but in height. And this face-off got a little bit heated, as you can see, but not really. Jake Paul is just trying to get under his skin, trying to get a big moment, I'm sure. But you can tell that there's a pretty fucking significant size difference, one that Jake Paul is not accustomed to whatsoever. He's the big guy in all of his fights up till now. And now we have Joshua, who's a Hulk, like a hulking freak in comparison to Jake Paul. Not a good look whatsoever. And then we have the first face off, which was more of Jake Paul's bullshit, but was pretty entertaining to watch. as someone who, someone in Anthony Joshua, who has made this sport his life and has put every single thing into this sport, to take this fight against Jake Paul, who's put 3 years in and is making a complete mockery of it, has got to sting Anthony Joshua a little bit. And his nerves, I'm sure, are going through the fucking roof. This is not a one-sided like nervousness. It's not just Jake being nervous. Anthony Joshua has a lot on the line. He has a lot of stakes in this fight. If he gets knocked out by Jake, he is done. He is completely over. His respectability as a boxer, his credibility as a boxer is completely gone, and he is a laughingstock of the boxing community that he is a very prominent figure in. And if Jake wins, we could be talking Usyk, we could be talking Fury, we could be talking real legacy boxing legacy fights for Jake Paul at heavyweight, which is the dumbest thing ever. But I hope to God it happens because it would be hilarious. But as for my final prediction, I'm going to predict that Jake Paul gets smoked out cold in the first round, completely out cold, and that's it. He gets starched out cold in the first round as Anthony Joshua puts kind of a pace on him, not fearing it really at all, and he starches him out cold. It could go early to the second if Jake Paul proves to be elusive and a little bit sketchy and a little bit different, because he is. He's a way lighter fighter than Anthony Joshua is used to fighting, and that could play a part in the awkwardness of this fight. But the skill gap's too high. The size difference is too high. It's too much for Jake Paul. So it's 100% going to be a loss, but I am hoping, I'm praying for the upset win for Jake Paul. And I'm not a Jake Paul fan, but I hate boxing to the degree where this is very fun for me. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the whole build up and what's going to take place tomorrow. I will see you soon.